In this video, I'm going to show you 4 or 5 ways to make playing scales really good fun. It doesn't have to be dull and boring and soulless and just demotivating. It can be really beautiful. Have a listen and I'll show you, because I'm going to walk you through everything that I'm doing. So have a listen. Now, that's actually really good fun to do, and in this video I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing and why you should practice like this. You get a free backing track which has come from my friends at Session Band. This is from Jazz Volume 4 and I've created it on Sting Swing genre, and this is going to be for alto and tenor saxophone. Everything that I'm going to talk about is written down on the PDF. Tenor players, I've written it out for you as well. And so the reason that I'm making this video is that, as you maybe know if you've been following my channel for a while, I teach privately, and then sometimes a client will come round and I'll say to them, how are you doing with your scales? And they go, oh, well, they're not as good as that. You can just see their whole kind of body language kind of sags when you even mention the name of scales. But for me, playing scales is absolutely gorgeous. So the reason that they're finding it hard is that they're not turning it into something really applicable and practical and beautiful and fun to do. So that's what I want to do in this video for my clients and for you as well. So you get the PDF that's in the description below along with the backing track. Just have a look and you can download that for free. And it says if we just practice in a really dry way, then it just becomes numbing and tasteless and dull. And we need to make the connection between what we practice and why we practice it. Otherwise your brain is just going to go, it's like, what do you want me to do with this scale that you've just learned? Like, you've taught me this scale, you want me to learn it. What do you want me to do with it? And if you don't give it something to do with the scale, the brain will just store it away. There you go, that was kind of ironic. It will just store it away. It will put it in a drawer somewhere, and then if you're not using it, it will put it in a drawer further back. And at the end, if you don't use it, it will end up in the shed at the bottom of the garden underneath some tarpaulin. So you really want to make sure that your brain knows that these scales and chord tones are really practical and beautiful. So I'm using Session Band, but you can find hundreds of backing tracks on the internet as well. And what I'll do is I'll put in a transposition chart that looks like this. So if you want to, if you're not sure about what key you're in for alto or tenor saxophone, you can use this and just type in the key that you need on YouTube. So some really simple ideas. The first thing that I would do is just make sure I've got the scale under my fingers, and the PDF says play the scale straight up and down in time. That would sound like this. Now, if I just took that simple idea and extended the range of the scale, but not changing the notes of the scale, and just ran it up and down, but changed the phrasing and the timing, that could instantly sound like this. And that sounds much more interesting, and I'm not changing the order of the notes at all. So that's something that I want you to practice. Do the scale really straight and then throw the timing around without changing the order of the notes. Another thing that we could do is to play the chord tones 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9, and I'm going to put the notes at the bottom of the screen for alto and tenor. For alto it's D, F sharp, A, C and E, and if I just play those dead straight, that would sound like this. But then if I throw the timing of that around and do it up and down, that starts to sound really lovely and is really fun to do. Have a listen. Really lovely and very, very useful to be able to hit the chord tones of whatever scale you're in. Then another idea is idea number 3, which is to try this lovely phrase using the chord tones. And all I'm doing here is, instead of going root 3 5 7 9 7 5 3 root, I'm going 7 root 3 5 7 9 7 5 3 root and 7. So I'm always starting on the 7, and because I'm not starting on the root, it sounds a little bit more fun and interesting. If I do it without the backing track, that would sound like this. This is such a useful lick or pattern to have under your fingers. If I do that dead straight with the backing track, now there's a couple of ways that I could actually apply this. I could throw the timing around and just be loose with the timing without changing the sequence at all. That would sound like this. So that would be such a good exercise to do. Then the last thing that I've got on the PDF, the last kind of separate idea, is a 1 2 3 4 pattern, which I've done in some of my other videos. So if I execute that just without the backing track, that would sound like this. So I'm going to do that dead straight with the backing track, but I'd encourage you to do it quite slowly at first, get it under your fingers and then apply it to the backing track. And that would sound like this. Now it does say on the PDF, if I did that and was loose with the timing, like I've been loose with the timing of the other ideas, that already starts to sound really lovely, and again is good practice and fun to do. And then if I took fragments out of that pattern, like just say descending from the C sharp, if I'm in the key of D, which is the 7th, if I added that in, if I did that with the backing track, and this pattern is so robust, you could take a fragment literally starting anywhere on this pattern, ascending or descending, and it's just going to sound lovely. Now the final thing, if I took steps 2, 3 and 4 and rotate them, so I'm going to play the scale up and down but just loosely, I'm going to loosely throw the chord tones around, I'm going to do my chord tone lick thing, which was idea number 3, and a couple of fragments out of that pattern that I just showed you, then that could sound like this. And that starts to sound like a really nice solo. So when I work with my private clients like this, you can see them light up when we do this together, because it's so much fun and it's such good practice. There's no downside to practicing like this, because you're practicing your scale, you're practicing your chord tones, you're having fun, you're practicing your rhythm ideas, you're doing it with a backing track, you're making it musical. So ultimately, the goal is to sound good on the saxophone, isn't it? That's what we're all trying to do. So make your practice practical, functional, applicable and pragmatic, and you'll never get bored with playing scales again. I really hope that something in here has resonated with you and you found it useful. If you have, then I really hope that it's worth clicking the subscribe button. I'd really appreciate that. You can also buy me a coffee if you'd like to. You can also join this channel if you'd like to, and that would really support me so much, because I work so hard. I work ridiculously long hours trying to make these videos every week, and I really do appreciate your support. And then if you like my teaching style, there's loads more tutorials on saxmadesimple.com which are completely free of charge, and then there's also some paid content as well, which I'd very much appreciate you going to have a look at. I really hope that something in there you found ever so useful, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.